We're going to catch up on a couple things. We have, from our committees, we've already reviewed our finance, we've had audit report, we've had our finance committee report. Let's go to our law and licensing report, and I believe Board Member Warner, you chaired that meeting, so are you going to do that one?
Okay, hang on. I
You're,
don't need this. Oh,
you're on.
maybe I'll just use this. Okay.
So do you have this right here? The
I
blue?
do-
Okay.
I have Janet's. Okay, so, let's see. The USBE Health and Education Specialist Jody Kaufman presented the Parent Guardian Consent Form for Sex Education Instruction form, updates due to changes required by HB 286 in the 2018 legislative session. Due to the recodification, Utah State Code references within the form have been updated and refusal skills instructions have been added. The form has 2 items that are pre-checked due to statute 53G 10402, which requires instruction of the 2 items. Additionally, grammatical corrections have been requested and were presented for the committee's approval. The committee members asked questions of staff and Jody Kaufman and provided feedback and additional information. Member Brittany Cummins requested a change to the form to remove the word condoms. The committee action is Board Member Laura Belknap moved that the committee approve the form with the changes as discussed and send the form to the board for a full approval. Motion passed 3-1 with members Laura Belknap, Brittany Cummins, and Terrell Warner in favor and member Lisa Cummins opposed. So the motion on the board for the board is the committee moves that the board approve the updated parent guardian consent form for sex education instruction.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve the updated parent guardian consent form for sex education instruction. Discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Voting was unanimous. Please continue.
Okay, so the next was the plan to update board rules relating to the 2018 passage of HB 313. The committee discussion was that Deputy Superintendent Angie Stallings presented information proposing a timeline. Hey, is there not a motion on there? There's no motion.
No motion.
Okay, so do I need to read that?
No.
Okay, we'll skip that one. Okay, going on to 277-470, the charter schools, general provisions. The community discussion was that Deputy Superintendent Angie Stallings stated that R277-470, charter schools, general provisions, is up for its 5-year review and continuation. The rule is before the Law and Licensing Committee with technical amendments and to be continued. The committee action was that board member Lisa Cummins moved that the committee approve and continue R277-470, draft 1 on first reading and send it to the board for second and final reading. The motion passed unanimously. So the motion is that the committee moves that the board approve and continue R277-470, draft 1 on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve and continue R277-470, draft 1 on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Those opposed? Voting was unanimous.
So moving on to 277-481, Deputy Superintendent Angie Stallings stated that for 277-481, Charter Schools Oversight, Monitoring, and Appeals is up for its 5-year review and continuation. The rule is before the committee with technical amendments and to be continued. Committee members asked questions of staff and provided feedback. There was public comment. We heard from State Charter School Executive Director Jennifer Lambert, who provided examples where language in the rule does not represent current practice, but acknowledged that the rule language will be amended substantively later this year. Committee members and staff continued discussion of rule language changes. Jennifer Lambert provided additional information. The committee action was that member Laura Belknap moved that the committee approve and continue draft 3 of R277-481 on first reading and send it to the board for second and final reading. The motion passed unanimously. I'll let you read the motion.
Okay, I'll restate the motion. The motion is the board approve and continue R277-481 draft 3 on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Voting was unanimous.
Okay, 277525, special educator stipends. It's an amendment and continuation. The Director of Law and Professional Practices, Ben Rasmussen, stated that R277525, special educator stipends, is up for its 5-year review and continuation. The rule is before the Committee on Technical Amendments and to be continued. Committee members asked questions of staff and provided feedback. There was public comment made. USBE Assistant Superintendent of Student Services Support, Leah Voorhees, explained how the appropriation from the legislation is calculated and distributed. She also stated that this stipend is very specific in application. The participating teachers are generally reimbursed for their time to complete required paperwork, such as IEPs and filing compliances. Board Member Laura Belknap moved that the committee approve and continue Draft 1 of R277-525 on first reading and send it to the board for second and final reading. The motion passed unanimously.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve and continue R277-525, Draft 1 on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Voting is unanimous.
Okay, moving on to 277-617, Smart School Technology Program. The Director of Law and Professional Practices, Ben Rasmussen, stated that R277-617, Smart School Technology Program, is up for its 5-year review and continuation. He explained that while there is currently no funding for this program, the statute remains in place, which requires the board to adopt rules to implement. Therefore, the rule is before the committee with technical amendments and to be continued. Deputy Superintendent Angie Stallings explained that there are several programs coming to light that no longer have funding. Either they were pilot programs or they have been replaced by newer programs. A list is being compiled of programs that no longer receive funding and can be addressed during the next legislative session. First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins moved that the committee approve and continue R277-617 Draft 1 on first reading and send it to the board for second and final reading. The motion passed unanimously.
The motion before the board is that the board approve and continue R277-617 Draft 1 on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Voting was unanimous.
Okay, 277-411, the school district-sponsored school seminars on youth protection-related issues. Director of Law and Professional Practices, Ben Rasmussen, stated that R277-411, school district-sponsored school seminars on youth protection and related issues, is up for its 5-year review and continuation. He explained that this program is currently still in place, however, the provisions of the rule are no longer necessary. Therefore, the rule is before the committee on a recommendation to repeal. Board Member Laura Belknap moved that the committee repeal R277-411 in its entirety on first reading and send it to the board for second and final reading. The motion passed unanimously.
The motion before the board is that the board repeal R277-411 in its entirety on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Voting was unanimous.
Okay, R277-619, School Leadership Skills Development. It's an amendment and continuation. Director of Law and Professional Practices, Ben Rasmussen, stated that R277-619, Student Leadership Skills Development, is up for its 5-year review and continuation. He explained that this rule is similar in situation to R277-617 in that there is currently no funding for this program. It was a pilot program. However, until the statute is repealed, the rule needs to continue. Therefore, the rule is before the committee with technical amendments and to be continued. First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins moved that the committee approve and continue R277-619 Draft 1 on first reading and send it to the board for second and final reading. The motion passed unanimously.
The motion before the board is that the board approve and continue R277-619 Draft 1 on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Voting is unanimous.
Okay, Board Policy 2003, Board Resolutions. Director of Law and Professional Practices, Ben Rasmussen, stated that the proposed amendments to Board Policy 2003 were requested by Board Secretary Lorraine Austin to clarify what is and what is not a resolution, and what a resolution means. Under the proposed policy, a resolution is a non-binding opinion type item that the board votes on and lasts no longer than 4 years. Also, a resolution is to state the length of time it lasts. Further, for a resolution that has been used to create a board advisory committee, it is recommended that the resolution be changed to a board policy and renumbered on the website. Committee members asked questions of staff and provided feedback. First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins moved that the committee adopt Policy 2003, Draft 1, with the exclusion of Section 3, Draft 2, sent to the board for approval. The motion passed unanimously. So, do you want me to continue reading this other? Oh, that's the second one. So, First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins moved that the following resolutions are hereby adopted as board policies. Board Resolution 2016-1, Access. Board Resolution 2016-2, AAPAC. Board Resolution 2016-3, USEAP. Board Resolution 2016-4, TAC. Board Resolution 2017-1, SDGAG. Board Resolution 2017-2, SDUAG. And Board Resolution 2017-3, SDPAG. And the motion passed unanimously.
Very good. Okay. The motion before the board is that the board adopt policy 2003, draft 2. That's the first part of that. Is there any discussion to that, to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye. Those opposed? Voting is unanimous. The next one is, motion is that the board adopt the following resolutions as board policies. Board Resolution 2016-1, I hope I can do it that way. Access, Board Resolution 2016-2, APAC. Did I get that right? Board Resolution 2016-3, should I just say it, USEAP, is that USEAP? Okay, Board Resolution 2016-4, TAP. Board Resolution 2017-1, which is the SDGAG. Do they have a name for that? What is it? Oh, okay. Board Resolution 2017-2, which is SDUAG. And Board Resolution 2017-3, SDPAG. That's a motion before the board. Board, do we have any comments? Board Member Stokes.
I think this is fantastic, but I think for the purposes of this meeting and in the rule, those acronyms ought to be written out in full. Because quite honestly, I don't know what the hell any of these mean. So, I mean, I know access, I know TAC, I know, but it'd be great to know what all the rest of them meant. So could we have somebody read what each of these actually are? Just, I mean, I think maybe I know Royce Van Tassel wouldn't know what any of these are. I mean, he's not even here to know, so.
Someone want to come up and take the mic and?
And for all those
let's
students
just
that might be
address-
listening, I don't believe swearing is
Let's,
appropriate in public
let's
meetings.
address every acronym, starting at the top. This is a test.
It's at 2003, you have to go click on
Okay, so, okay, you've got all these down? Ooh, you're not doing good on the
I know
test.
some of the other ones.
Okay, let's start with the first one. Who's got that one?
We're going to start with the bottom and go to the top. We have Student Data Policy Advisory Group.
Okay, are you
These were
following?
names by the legislature. We didn't name these. Then it's the Student Data Users Advisory Group. Student Data Governance Advisory Group.
Okay, then,
TAC is the Trust Lands Advisory Committee, I believe. Sorry, I'm looking them up. Trust Lands Advisory Committee. USEEP is, I'm pulling it up.
Oh, what, do you want to
Utah
turn your
Special
mic on?
Education Advisory Panel.
Oh, there you go.
APAC, Lorraine, did you want to, I'm opening it up right now, but if you know it.
Do you want to-
I've got it, it's coming. It's the Assessment and Accountability Policy Advisory Committee. And then Access is sorry, it's pulling up. The Advisory Committee on Equity of Educational Services for Students.
Okay. Thank you. Board Member Stokes, are you satisfied? Okay, very good. Board Member Warner, did you have a comment?
nope, I'm
Okay.
just ready to continue.
All right, well, we have to vote on the motion that's before the board is that the board adopt the following resolutions as board policy, as I said earlier. So let's vote on it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Voting was unanimous.
Okay. So R277-463, class size average and pupil-teacher ratio reporting. The Director of Law and Professional Practices, Ben Rasmussen, stated that law clerks are updating and correcting statutory references in the rules. R277-463 is before the committee on technical amendments and to be continued. Board Member Laura Belknap moved that the committee approve and continue R277-463 Draft 1 on first reading and send to the board for a second and final reading. The motion passed unanimously.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve and continue R277-463 Draft 1 on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Voting is unanimous.
Okay, the next section we're actually going to work on tomorrow, which is the Board Policy 4001 and the Board Governance for the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind. So we're going to skip that for right now, and we'll move on to Board Bylaws. Assistant Attorney General David Thomas explained a suggested change to the bylaws relating to concerns of recording or live streaming meetings by personal devices and to designate the streamed video as the official video. This amendment would affect language in Articles 8 and 9. The purpose is to invite civility, fairness, and self-governance among the board members. Committee members asked questions of staff and provided feedback. First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins expressed concerns, and she referenced the Board Code of Conduct as the vehicle to address this matter. Director of Law and Professional Practices, Ben Rasmussen, provided further clarification on the amendments. Relevant to Article 9, the proposed language will formalize the current practices of the board. So we had a couple of committee actions.
Hey,
First,
before we dive into those actions, Board Member Reby, did you have a?
I would like to know if I can just go back to R277-463 and ask a clarifying question.
How about we finish this part and
Yeah.
then do it at the end?
Thanks.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay,
First-
please continue.
First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins moved that the committee amend bylaws Article 8, Section P, Line 1, to read, "The board shall record and live stream all open and public meetings where facility technology will allow," and strike out Line 2. The motion passed unanimously. So do we want to do these in sections? Or do you want me to go through all committee actions and then you go
No,
through
let's-
the motions?
I can jump down.
Okay,
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve bylaws Article 8, Section P as amended. Any discussion? Board Member Cannon?
So just a question to the committee, that they crossed out 2 that says board members may not record or live stream any meeting using a personal device or other equipment without advanced authorization for the board. That's what they took out? And can I know the reasoning for that and know whether or not that's appropriate, or will that be done, or how are we going to handle that issue of streaming board meetings?
Okay, Angie?
Yes, so the language that struck out there was actually proposed language by AAG Dave Thomas. And then, so when you see it struck out, it's not currently in the board bylaws. So I don't know if that answers your question. It's not currently in the board bylaws. It was a proposed language, and the committee did not like that new language.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I'd just like to know.
Hang on. Okay.
What was the discussion in committee about the issue of board members live streaming meetings on their personal devices?
Okay. You chaired the committee that day. Did you want to, who do you want to speak for the committee? Lisa.
Lisa can speak.
Okay.
Board Member Cummings.
Board Member Lisa Cummins?
So the discussion was, does an individual have a right to record an open meeting? And yes, while we are elected board members, we also, because of technology, and we've talked about technology a lot today, we are able to reach our constituents at various different avenues and entities. And many people follow us on our personal social media pages and various things that do not get notices through the State Board of Education media sources. So the discussion was, if we limit a board member's ability to record or to live stream a discussion or portions of the meeting, it would limit the access that our constituent would have to us. And to be accountable. So we are in a very transparent, there's cameras everywhere type of world. And, you know, is there a line? Should there be a line? Probably not, because while we are also elected officials, we do have a right to communicate with our public.
Board Member Cannon?
Can I hear from the AGs about, apparently they're the ones that prepared this, what their thinking was on making this recommendation to the board?
Brian?
Although I wasn't there, I've heard a little bit about this item from Dave Thomas, and I think the idea was just to engender more civility, because some staff members and others that were being captured on video were concerned that they were being captured, maybe not in the best light. And so I think that was the approach that AAG Dave Thomas made in proposing the language in question.
Board Member Cummins?
If I may, I think Laura was a part of, at first, Board Member Belknap had concerns because the camera was pointed towards her. But I spoke with her, and I know that there was no ill intent directly to her. It was just a capturing of the conversation in general. There was no personal, but likewise with all social media, we cannot control how the public responds. Cameras are pointed to us all the time here in public meeting, and we have no control over what they're saying over on some Facebook page. So it's already out there. But as far as personal, as someone was being felt like they were being targeted. Thank you. That was not the case, and I think Board Member Belknap understood after I talked to her that it was not the case at all.
I'm never known for not being blunt, so I'm going to be blunt. You were very kind in what you said. We had some things that were videotaped in a meeting with the state board's YouTube and social media accounts. They're monitored for civility. I don't believe you can even they're checked for comments. But we had a guest here that had some really negative personal attacks through board member's social media account. So I'll just put it out on the table. That was the concern that was brought forward. When you have a guest here, we should, if we're going to have social media accounts, and we're going to be posting things on them, we probably need to make sure that we're not making personal attacks or having other people put personal attacks on our social media sites. So I'll just state it that way. That was the concern with the AG's office when somebody brought it forward to the AG's office, that there were personal attacks to a guest here, so.
Okay. Brittany, were you speaking to this? Board, Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
Part of the reason why earlier in this report we talked about using the board code of conduct rather than the bylaws to address this is that we brought our, it would allow us to talk about, because it's legal to record a public meeting. And so I guess as we talk about how we interact with one another as board members, how we are considerate and show civility towards one another, you know, is it best if I decide to Facebook Live it? If I say, hey, Kathleen, by the way, I'm going to be Facebook Living, you know, duck, or whatever, but that we make each other aware on a personal level using our code of conduct, board of code of conduct, where we talk about that civility so that we're not using our bylaws to, you know, tell each other what to do at every step of the way, but really trying to get to the root of it and to show consideration towards one another.
Board Member Reby.
I'm voting in favor of not having us record each other individually. The system we have in place is very objective. It picks up on any person that's talking. The fact that we're having this conversation actually must have made somebody feel targeted or slighted. And I think the system we have in place creates a situation that is objective, non-biased, and provides enough information for anybody who's watching it. And so I think that this is a very civil choice, and it provides less targeting. Thank you.
Board Member Stokes.
So we're all board members, and we all have technology, and I think we all get to make that decision, what we're going to do and how we're going to interact with fellow board members. And we are all elected. And if somebody feels like a guest or a member of the general public that doesn't like something and wants to go out and create a stir because we've done something inappropriate, we live in an information age, we live in a free society, so I'm speaking against this. I don't even know how it's formatted. I mean, I'm looking at it on here. I don't even know where it fits in a rule, where it fits in a bylaw, where it fits in so I'm speaking against whatever this thing is that's on paper here and wherever it fits into whatever it fits into. Because I don't, can somebody explain that to me? I mean, I don't.
We didn't pass it.
Okay.
We're talking about what was taken out. We didn't pass that motion. That's not part of the motion.
So then why are we even discussing it?
Because somebody asked what was taken
Oh.
out.
Yeah. So it was,
This one said.
meeting recordings number 1 and 2 were recommended by the AGs to the committee. The committee retained number 1.
I need your mic on.
And they took out number 2. And my question, the committee retained number 1 and eliminated number 2. And I just wanted to find out why the AGs had recommended that and why the committee had made that decision. It was information seeking.
Okay. Brian?
I believe the recommendation was made because it might have been Board Member Belknap had discovered that, based on, I guess, the Facebook Live, that someone was presented in an unflattering way. And so she, I believe, as best as I understand, requested there be some kind of bylaw change.
I'm not using water witches to determine what we're doing.
Board Member Lear. Sorry.
I think this is out of our hands. I was just looking at the Open and Public Meetings Law, and it says specifically any or all part of I said that backwards, all or any part of an open meeting may be independently recorded by any person in attendance if the recording does not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. So I guess that would be up to you to decide if the conduct interferes with the meeting. Otherwise, we don't have anything to say about a recording. So I don't know why we're belaboring this.
Yeah. Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
So the motion before the board doesn't include any restrictions on recording. The motion before the board amends the bylaws to say that we, as a board, will be recording the meeting technically. So it says the board shall record, live stream all meetings where facility technology will allow it. So it just puts in our bylaws our current practice of recording and live streaming.
Period.
Yeah, so all the stuff restricting board members from recording are not in the motion that is before the board.
So, Board Member Stokes, did you have your question answered with clarity while we're having this conversation?
I think that I understand what went on. I find it, I'm trying to use respect and decorum here in saying this, since that's what this whole topic is about. I think it foolish to think that anything that goes on in a public meeting can't be recorded or otherwise broadcast in any way. I think Brittany said that about the Open and Public Meetings Act. So I don't even know why it's on our, okay, but somehow we got back to it.
Well, it was a question regarding what was taken out of something that was being talked about earlier and why. So, okay, not seeing any other discussion. So the motion before the board is that the board approve Board Bylaws Article 8, Section P as amended. All in favor say aye. Okay, do you know what? Okay, well, you guys got to follow along like I've got to follow along. So let me just speak. What came from the motion before the board that came out of the committee to approve Board Bylaws Article 8, Section P as amended. Okay? Which was just stated that these are all going to be recorded meetings. Okay? I'm trying to paraphrase a little bit. So we're going to have that in our bylaws. Everyone's aware that this is what it'll be. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Where did the personal devices fall? Is it in there or is it out of there? Can we use, okay, that's, okay, thank you. I just wanted to.
Okay. All in favor say aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
No opposed, so that's unanimous. Okay, we had fun with that one. Okay, please continue.
First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins moved that the committee approve the changes to Bylaws Article 9 and that Section F, Line 1 reads, "The board shall record and live stream all open and public meetings on the internet where facility technology will allow," and strike out subsection 2. The motion passed unanimously.
Okay. So the motion before the board is that the board approve Bylaws Article 9, Section F as amended. Discussion to the motion. Vice Chair Brittany Cummings.
Does that include section G, or was section F just pinpointed because it was amended? So it's, okay.
What's the answer? Okay.
So section G was part of the amendment submitted to the committee, and it should be part of the motion. And that deals with committee meetings.
Okay, so do you want me to say Section P and Section G?
I think where you said as amended, I think that includes it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion before the board that came from committee should have included G. So the motion before the board is approved by law. The motion before the board is that the board approve Board Bylaw Article 9, Section G, Section F as amended. Is that correct? That came out of committee? I've got a yes.
Yes.
Okay, discussion to the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, voting was unanimous.
Okay, the next committee action doesn't have a motion on it, but we did make a motion. So I'm just going to read it anyhow. First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins moved that the board's code of conduct be added to the agenda for a future committee meeting, and the motion passed unanimously. So do we need that on the motion today where we had a
No.
motion? Okay. Then we got this teacher leader report that was really helpful and it was really good. And you can read the notes right there. And next was the data sharing agreement, external request for de-identified student level data with Westat. So USBE Chief Privacy Officer Whitney Phillips reminded that this matter came before the committee in March with no USBE sponsor. Since then, USBE Assistant Superintendent Leah Voorhees became involved in the matter. During the April board meeting, it was recommended that this matter be brought to the committee for consideration. First Vice Chair Brittany Cummins moved that the board approve the data sharing agreement with Westat. Motion passed 3-1 with members Laura Belknap, Brittany Cummins, and Terrell Warner in favor, and one member, Lisa Cummins, opposed.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve the data sharing agreement with Westat. Any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
Those opposed? Voting was unanimous. There's one piece that needs to come back that I want to recognize. Board Member Reby, you had a question. You have your mic's on.
So in 277463, when we talk about class size, average, and pupil-teacher ratio reporting, when we look at our fingertip facts, it says that our average ratio is 21.8. And then we look at the definition of what it takes to have the per pupil unit and the FTE ratio, it seems like our class sizes are a lot smaller than they are. So to me, it seems a little not a real number. And I wish that we could kind of come up with a better definition so that parents understand that the FTE includes every FTE in the school. So if I have, like, I'm an FTE in a school, but I don't have kids, so my FTE is divided amongst all the kids. And then the speech person is a half an FTE, and the reading specialist is an FTE. So I understand how this grew, but I think it's a disingenuous number. And when we look at this definition, I would like for us to maybe consider recreating it so that it's more actual, because my FTE is 30 in my class. It's not 21.8. And people think that number means the size of our classes, but it doesn't. It means how many teachers are compared to the ratio. And I understand that, but our public does not understand that. So I was looking at it, and I kind of wanted to mention it, and I just didn't jump in fast enough. So is there a way that we could maybe readdress that? Or
Well, we can, Angie?
I know.
Thank you. I think the answer to that question is always yes. The question is how. A lot of the language that's in this rule is actually governed in statute. So I was just looking, I'm sorry, at, it's included in the section in the code about the superintendent's annual report. So it's 53E-3-301, and you'll see that that section of code is actually in board docs if you wanted to pull it up. On about the third page, second or third page, you'll see that it actually describes how we, meaning the superintendent, should calculate classroom, the average class size. So it's in that subsection 6 at kind of the middle of page 3. So we could work on this, but it would require statutory change versus a board rule. But we could do that. We could work on that.
Well, I think it should reflect the actual number closer to what our class sizes
Yep.
is, because when we go and ask for changes for our school and we advocate for smaller class sizes, and people are like, oh, we're crushing it, we're 21.8, when really we're 30. And so this number does not reflect what general population thinks. So when we look to deal with our stakeholders and we look to deal with all of the people involved in our schools, they should understand that number. And although I understand how we get to this number, and I'm reading the code here, it's kind of a erroneous symbolization of how many kids are actually in each classroom. So when we go to our legislators and say, hey, we'd like to reduce class sizes, they're like, what do you mean? It's only 21 and 16 in this nation. I'm like, it's not 16 in the nation, it isn't 21 in Utah. So I would like this number to reflect how many kids are actually in our classrooms. Because we're from 35 to 45 right now. We are nowhere near 21. So that's my concern, because we can't help people unless we look at these numbers honestly and they reflect exactly what's happening in our classrooms.
Well, I think we can look into it and see what we can, there's a place to get where you want to be, but there's also a place that we want to be within statute, because the legislature also knows there's all these other FTEs that are supporting a classroom of 30. But not every classroom has that same kind of support, so it's all in the averaging of schools. So I think we can take your requests under some consideration and see what we can do to come back on it as a to-do. Okay, did you have a follow-up on that?
Well, I guess I was wondering, is that a motion for us to work on a legislative proposal, or would you
Well,
just like us to work with Board Member Reeby directly on
The
some-
motion didn't come out of
Okay.
committee, but
No,
it's
it
it's
didn't.
a
That's
legitimate comment that,
Yeah. Okay.
and a concern, I think, that we can address for a board member.
Okay.
Okay. Which may take something to a committee, as we're trying to improve that.